Have you ever wondered why life feels too easy but also unfulfilling? Do you feel like something is missing, even though you have everything you need? Comfort, convenience, and technology at your fingertips? What if the very things that make our lives easier are actually making us weaker? In today's world, we rarely face real discomfort. We don't have to hunt for food, walk long distances, or even wait for things we want. Everything is available instantly. But while comfort has made life more convenient, it has also made us fragile, anxious, and unprepared for real challenges. This is what The Comfort Crisis by Michael Easter explores. It's about how stepping outside our comfort zone into struggle, challenge, and even discomfort can make us stronger, happier, and more fulfilled. Now, let's begin our journey into this powerful book. Michael Easter found himself standing in the vast wilderness of Alaska, surrounded by nothing but mountains, freezing air, and the sound of his own breath. There were no roads, no internet, no comfortable bed waiting for him at night. He was deep in the wild, far away from the modern world. And for the first time in a long time, he felt truly alive. This was no vacation. It was an experiment, a journey into discomfort. For a whole month, he would live in one of the most extreme places on earth, hunting his own food, carrying his supplies on his back, and facing the raw forces of nature. But why? Why would someone willingly leave behind comfort to struggle in the wild? Because Michael realized something that most of us don't. Our modern lives are too easy. We have eliminated struggle, but in doing so, we have also lost something important: our ability to handle challenge, to feel deeply connected to life, to push ourselves beyond our limits. The hidden cost of an easy life. Michael Easter's journey into the wild wasn't just about adventure. It was about understanding a simple but powerful truth. Comfort has made us weaker. Think about how we live today. We wake up in soft beds in temperature-controlled rooms. We press a button and coffee is ready. We sit in cars that take us wherever we want to go. Our food is delivered to our doorstep. If we feel bored, we pick up our phones and scroll endlessly. Everything is instant, effortless, and within reach. At first, this sounds like progress. After all, isn't technology supposed to make life easier? But here's the problem. When everything is easy, we stop growing. Our bodies don't get stronger. Our minds don't get sharper. And our ability to handle stress and discomfort fades away. Michael Easter explains that our ancestors faced daily challenges. They walked for miles to find food. They hunted and gathered, sometimes going days without eating. They slept on the ground. They endured cold, heat, and hunger. And because of this, they were physically strong, mentally tough, and emotionally resilient. But today, most of us have never truly experienced hardship. We don't know what it's like to be hungry for hours, to push through exhaustion, or to deal with real physical struggle. And this is why so many people today feel anxious, restless, and unfulfilled. Our minds and bodies were built for challenge, but we've removed all the challenges from our lives. Easter points to research that shows how this extreme comfort is harming us. For example, many of today's health problems, obesity, heart disease, even depression, are linked to our easy lifestyles. We sit too much. We eat too much. We avoid discomfort at all costs. And as a result, we are weaker than previous generations. One shocking study found that people today have significantly lower grip strength than people just a few decades ago. That might not sound important, but grip strength is a sign of overall physical health and longevity. A weaker grip means a weaker body, and a weaker body means a shorter, less healthy life. It's not just our bodies that suffer. Our minds do too. Anxiety and depression rates have skyrocketed in modern society. And while there are many reasons for this, one key factor is that we no longer push ourselves. We rarely face real struggle. And without struggle, we don't develop the mental toughness we need to handle life's challenges. But there is hope. We can reverse this trend. We can reintroduce discomfort into our lives in small, meaningful ways. And when we do, we will become stronger, healthier, and more resilient. Most people believe that comfort leads to happiness. If we have everything we need, food, shelter, entertainment, and security, we should feel completely satisfied. But in reality, the opposite is true. The more comfortable life becomes, the less happy we feel. Michael Easter explores this idea by looking at how humans have changed over time. Our ancestors faced daily challenges. They had to walk long distances to find food. They had to endure harsh weather and dangerous situations. They lived with uncertainty, never knowing when the next meal would come. Life was hard, but it was also meaningful. They felt the deep satisfaction of surviving and overcoming obstacles. Today, life is different. Most of us don't experience real struggle. We can get food without hunting. We can adjust the temperature in our homes with the push of a button. We can entertain ourselves for hours without moving from the couch. At first, this seems like a good thing. But without struggle, life starts to feel empty. Scientists have studied this problem, and they have found something surprising. People who face challenges and push through discomfort are actually happier than those who avoid it. This is because struggle creates meaning. It forces us to grow. It makes us appreciate life in a deeper way. Take exercise, for example. Running a marathon is hard. It's painful. It requires months of training and discipline. But people who complete marathons often say it's one of the most rewarding experiences of their lives. The same is true for climbing a mountain, learning a new skill, or even working hard to achieve a goal. The process is difficult, but the result is a deep sense of fulfillment. Michael Easter shares a powerful example from the wilderness. While hunting in Alaska, he had to carry heavy gear, hike through tough terrain, and endure freezing temperatures. It was exhausting, but when he finally succeeded in hunting his own food and cooking a meal in the wild, it was the most satisfying meal he had ever eaten. The struggle made the reward feel greater. This is something called the effort-reward connection. When we work hard for something, we value it more. A meal tastes better when we are truly hungry. A warm bed feels more comforting after a long, cold day. A goal feels more rewarding when we have pushed ourselves to achieve it. On the other hand, when everything comes easily, it loses its value. Imagine eating your favorite food every single day without effort. At first, it would be enjoyable, but over time, it would become boring. This is what happens in modern life. Because everything is so easy, we stop appreciating it. And when we stop appreciating things, we feel less happy. Easter also explores a concept called misogi. This is an ancient Japanese practice where people take on extreme challenges that push them beyond their limits. The purpose isn't just physical strength. It's about discovering what you're truly capable of. In today's world, we rarely test our limits. We stay in our comfort zones. But stepping outside of those zones can bring us incredible growth and satisfaction. The key lesson here is that discomfort doesn't take away happiness. It actually creates it. By challenging ourselves, facing struggle, and stepping into the unknown, we discover what we are truly capable of. And in doing so, we find deeper meaning and joy in life. The power of boredom. In today's world, people never really feel bored. Whenever there is a free moment, they check their phones, watch videos, listen to music, or scroll through social media. There is always something to keep the mind busy. But Michael Easter explains that boredom is not something to avoid. In fact, it is something we need. Boredom is important because it helps the mind rest and recover. When people are constantly distracted, their brains never get a break. They jump from one thing to another, always looking for the next source of entertainment. This makes it harder to focus, be creative, and think deeply. It also makes people more anxious because their minds are always overstimulated. Easter shares the story of a researcher named Sandyman who studies boredom. She found that when people let themselves be bored, their brains actually start working better. Boredom makes people think in new ways, come up with creative ideas, and solve problems more effectively. Some of the greatest inventions and discoveries in history happened when people had time to let their minds wander. But in modern life, people do everything they can to avoid boredom. They check their phones the moment they feel even a little restless. They fill every free second with distractions. This might seem harmless, but over time, it weakens the brain. It makes people uncomfortable with silence and stillness. It makes them impatient and unable to handle difficult emotions. Easter talks about a study where researchers asked people to sit alone in a room with no phone, no book, and no distractions, just their own thoughts. Most people found it so uncomfortable that they preferred to give themselves an electric shock rather than sit in silence. This shows how deeply people have become addicted to constant stimulation. The problem is that when the brain is always busy, it never has time to process thoughts and emotions. People feel stressed but don't know why. They feel tired even after resting. They struggle to focus for long periods. This is because their minds are overloaded. Easter suggests that to regain control, people need to let themselves be bored again. This means creating moments of silence and stillness. It means going for a walk without looking at a phone, sitting in a quiet room without distractions, or simply allowing the mind to wander instead of reaching for entertainment. One of the best ways to do this is by spending time in nature. Easter explains that when people go into the wild, hiking, camping, or even just walking in a park, they give their minds a break from all the noise of modern life. Nature has a calming effect. It helps the brain reset. It also reminds people that they are part of something bigger than themselves. In the book, Easter shares his own experience of going into the wilderness for a month. At first, he felt restless without his phone and daily comforts. But after a few days, his mind started to clear. He could think more deeply, focus better, and feel more connected to himself and the world around him. He realized how much modern distractions had been controlling his mind. By embracing boredom and spending more time in silence, people can improve their mental health, increase their creativity, and feel more at peace. The world is full of distractions, but true strength comes from learning to sit with boredom and use it as a tool for growth. Another key lesson in the comfort crisis is about the importance of physical hardship. Modern life has made people weaker, not just mentally but also physically. People no longer have to hunt, gather, or move for survival. Everything is easy. Food is delivered to their doors. Transportation is always available, and technology reduces physical effort in almost every area of life. While this makes life more convenient, it also makes the body weaker and more prone to disease. Michael Easter explains that human bodies are designed to move, lift, and endure physical challenges. For thousands of years, people had to work hard just to survive. They walked long distances, carried heavy objects, and endured harsh weather. This made them strong and resilient. But today, most people sit for hours every day. They rarely challenge their bodies, and this leads to serious health problems like obesity, heart disease, and chronic pain. Easter shares a powerful story about his journey to the Arctic with a group of hunters. He spent over a month in one of the harshest environments on Earth, walking long distances every day, carrying heavy gear, and facing extreme cold. At first, it was incredibly difficult. His body ached, and he felt exhausted. But as the days went by, something changed. His body adapted. His strength and endurance increased. He felt more energetic, more alive, and more in control of himself than ever before. This experience taught him an important lesson. The body grows through hardship. When people challenge themselves physically, they become stronger, healthier, and even happier. But when they avoid discomfort, their bodies become weak and fragile. One of the biggest problems in modern life is the lack of real physical effort. Most people rely on gyms for exercise, but even workouts are often designed to be comfortable. Air-conditioned rooms, padded floors, and machines that do half the work make exercising easier than it should be. Easter argues that people need to reintroduce real physical struggle into their lives. Not just controlled workouts, but real-world challenges that push them beyond their limits. He gives examples of how simple changes can make a big difference. Walking instead of driving, carrying groceries instead of using a cart, taking the stairs instead of the elevator. All these small efforts build strength over time. But beyond that, he encourages people to seek out hard physical experiences. Long hikes, endurance challenges, lifting heavy objects, or even survival-style camping trips can rebuild the strength that modern life has taken away. There is also a psychological benefit to physical hardship. When people push through pain, fatigue, and exhaustion, they train their minds to handle discomfort. They build discipline and mental toughness. They stop fearing hardship and start embracing it. Easter explains that this kind of training helps in all areas of life. People who regularly challenge their bodies are better at handling stress, making difficult decisions, and staying calm under pressure. In one study he mentions, researchers found that people who do physically hard things like lifting heavy weights or running long distances are more resilient in everyday life. They handle failure better, recover from setbacks faster, and are more confident in their abilities. This is because when the body becomes stronger, the mind follows. Easter also talks about the idea of rucking, carrying a heavy backpack while walking long distances. This is something the military has used for centuries to build endurance and toughness. Today, many people are rediscovering rucking as a simple but powerful way to get stronger. It requires no special equipment, no gym membership, just a backpack and a willingness to struggle. The main message is clear. Strength comes from discomfort. The body is not designed for constant ease. It is meant to be used, challenged, and pushed beyond its limits. People who avoid physical effort may feel comfortable in the short term, but over time, they become weaker, sicker, and less capable of handling life's challenges. Easter's time in the Arctic proved that the human body is capable of incredible things. It just needs to be given the chance to grow. The more people embrace physical hardship, the more they will discover their true strength. The role of risk and adventure in human life. In today's world, people are taught to avoid risk as much as possible. Society encourages safety, comfort, and predictability. People are told to make careful choices, follow stable careers, and stay within familiar environments. While this approach reduces danger, it also takes away something essential: the thrill of uncertainty and the growth that comes from facing the unknown. Michael Easter argues that risk is not something to fear. In fact, taking risks is one of the most natural and necessary parts of being human. Throughout history, people have had to take risks to survive and progress. Early humans had to venture into unknown lands to find food and shelter. Explorers crossed oceans without knowing what was on the other side. Inventors and creators took bold chances to bring new ideas into the world. Without risk, there is no growth, no discovery, and no real achievement. Easter points out that modern life has become too safe. Everything is predictable. People live in climate-controlled homes, follow daily routines, and rarely face true uncertainty. While this may seem like a good thing, it actually creates a new kind of problem: boredom, dissatisfaction, and a lack of personal growth. He shares research showing that people who never take risks often feel unfulfilled. They may have everything they need: money, comfort, security, but they still feel something is missing. This is because the human brain is wired for challenge. It craves excitement, adventure, and the thrill of overcoming obstacles. When people avoid risk, they also avoid the deep sense of satisfaction that comes from pushing beyond their limits. One powerful example Easter shares is the story of modern explorers and adventurers. These are people who climb mountains, travel to dangerous places, or take on extreme physical challenges. Many of them say the same thing: they feel the most alive when they are facing risk. Their experiences teach them important lessons about fear, courage, and resilience. They learn to trust themselves, adapt to new situations, and grow stronger through hardship. Easter also discusses a study about Type 2 fun. This is a kind of enjoyment that doesn't feel fun in the moment but becomes meaningful afterward. For example, hiking up a steep mountain in the cold may not feel enjoyable at first. It's tiring, painful, and uncomfortable. But when you reach the top and look at the incredible view, you feel a deep sense of accomplishment. The struggle makes the experience more rewarding. This is the kind of fun that comes from taking risks and facing challenges. The problem with modern life is that it mostly offers Type 1 fun. This is the kind of fun that is easy and instant: watching TV, scrolling through social media, eating junk food. These activities feel good in the moment, but they don't lead to long-term happiness. In fact, too much easy fun can make people feel worse over time. They become lazy, unmotivated, and dissatisfied. Easter encourages people to add more risk and adventure to their lives. This doesn't mean being reckless or putting yourself in danger. It means stepping outside of your comfort zone. It means trying things that scare you, facing challenges that make you doubt yourself, and embracing the unknown. There are many ways to do this. Some people might take on a physical challenge like climbing a mountain, running a marathon, or going on a solo trip to a new place. Others might push themselves in different ways, starting a new business, learning a difficult skill, or speaking in front of a large audience. The key is to do something that feels uncertain and uncomfortable. That is where growth happens. Easter explains that the fear of risk is often worse than the risk itself. The mind creates stories about what could go wrong: failure, embarrassment, pain. But in reality, most risks are not as dangerous as they seem. When people take chances, they usually find that they are more capable than they thought. They gain confidence, new experiences, and a stronger sense of purpose. He also talks about the 1 in 100 rule. This means that people should aim to do at least one thing each year that only 1 out of 100 people would dare to try. This could be an extreme physical challenge, a big career move, or an experience that forces deep personal growth. The idea is to make risk-taking a habit, to regularly push beyond what feels safe and easy. Easter believes that embracing risk is one of the best ways to rediscover the excitement of being alive. Modern life makes people forget what real adventure feels like. But when they take bold steps, face uncertainty, and overcome challenges, they unlock a deeper level of strength and happiness. Risk is not something to avoid. It is something to seek. It is the doorway to growth, learning, and a life filled with meaning. The connection between nature and human well-being. Michael Easter explains that modern life has separated people from the natural world. Most people today spend nearly all their time indoors, working in offices, living in air-conditioned homes, and traveling in cars. Even when they exercise, they do it in a gym instead of outside. This separation from nature is one of the biggest reasons for stress, anxiety, and unhappiness in today's society. For most of human history, people lived close to nature. They spent their days outside, walking, hunting, gathering, and working with their hands. Their bodies and minds adapted to the rhythms of the natural world. But today, life is completely different. People wake up in a house, sit in front of screens, and go to bed without ever touching grass, feeling the wind, or hearing the sounds of birds and flowing water. This artificial lifestyle has serious effects on physical and mental health. Easter shares research showing that spending time in nature can reduce stress, improve mood, and increase overall happiness. Scientists have found that even a short walk in a forest can lower blood pressure, slow heart rate, and decrease levels of cortisol, the hormone that causes stress. This is because the human brain is wired to respond positively to natural environments. When people see trees, rivers, mountains, and open spaces, their bodies relax and their minds become clearer. One of the most powerful examples Easter shares is the concept of nature deficit disorder. This term was created by researchers who noticed that people, especially children, were suffering because they were not spending enough time outside. Kids who play in nature are healthier, more creative, and better at solving problems. They develop stronger immune systems, better coordination, and a greater sense of curiosity. But kids who spend most of their time indoors, watching screens, sitting in classrooms, and living in cities, are more likely to develop anxiety, depression, and attention problems. Easter also talks about the importance of discomfort in nature. Many people today are afraid of being outside for too long. They don't like being cold, hot, wet, or tired, but these natural discomforts are actually good for the body and mind. When people expose themselves to different weather conditions, their bodies learn to adapt. When they climb hills, cross rivers, or hike in rough terrain, they build strength, endurance, and confidence. He shares the story of his time in the Arctic, where he lived in extreme conditions, cold temperatures, harsh winds, and physical exhaustion. At first, it was hard. He felt uncomfortable and out of place. But over time, he realized that his body and mind were adjusting. He stopped worrying about the cold. He became more aware of his surroundings. His senses became sharper, and he felt more alive than ever before. This experience taught him that nature is not just a place to visit. It is a part of who we are. When people disconnect from nature, they lose something essential. They become weaker, more anxious, and less capable of handling life's challenges. But when they spend time outside, especially in wild, unpredictable environments, they regain their natural strength. Easter also talks about the idea of rewilding. This means returning to a more natural way of living, even in small ways. It doesn't mean abandoning modern life, but it does mean making a conscious effort to reconnect with nature. This can be as simple as walking barefoot on grass, swimming in a lake, or camping in the woods. It can also mean challenging yourself with outdoor activities like hiking, rock climbing, or kayaking. Experiences that push the body and mind beyond their usual comfort zones. One study he discusses shows that people who spend just 20 minutes a day in nature feel significantly less stressed and more focused. Their brains function better, their creativity increases, and they feel a deeper sense of happiness. But the key is to truly immerse yourself in nature. It's not enough to just look at a tree through a window or scroll through pictures of landscapes online. You have to step outside, breathe in the fresh air, and feel the natural world with your own senses. Easter explains that modern conveniences have made nature seem unnecessary. People think they don't need to go outside because they have everything they need indoors: food, entertainment, and communication. But what they don't realize is that without real contact with nature, they are missing out on one of the most powerful sources of health and happiness. He challenges people to break free from the artificial world for a while. Take a weekend trip to the mountains. Spend a day without using technology. Walk in the rain instead of avoiding it. Sleep under the stars instead of in a hotel. The more people expose themselves to the natural world, the more they will rediscover their true selves. The lesson is clear. Nature is not just a background. It is a fundamental part of what makes people strong, healthy, and happy. The further people move away from it, the weaker they become. But by returning to nature, even in small ways, they can rebuild their resilience and reconnect with something deeply human. The power of boredom and how modern life has eliminated it. Michael Easter explains that people today rarely experience boredom because they are always surrounded by distractions. Smartphones, social media, television, and instant entertainment make sure there is always something to look at, something to do. Whenever people feel even a little bit bored, they reach for their phones, scroll through social media, or watch a video. But Easter argues that boredom is not something to be avoided. It is something to be embraced. He explains that boredom is actually a necessary part of thinking, creativity, and mental well-being. When people are bored, their minds enter a state called default mode. This is when the brain is not focused on any one thing but instead starts making connections, solving problems, and thinking deeply. Many of the best ideas come during moments of boredom, when people are walking, resting, or just sitting quietly with their thoughts. But today, people rarely let their minds wander. They fill every empty moment with entertainment. This constant stimulation may feel enjoyable, but it has serious effects on the brain. Research shows that too much screen time reduces attention span, makes it harder to focus, and even increases anxiety and stress. People become so used to instant stimulation that they struggle to sit still, think deeply, or work on tasks that require patience. Easter shares a story about a scientist who studied boredom and found that some of history's greatest thinkers, artists, and inventors had their best ideas during long periods of boredom. Albert Einstein came up with many of his theories while taking long walks. Writers and musicians often say their most creative moments happen when they are away from their work, simply letting their minds wander. The problem with modern life is that it does not allow these moments to happen. Every free second is filled with notifications, messages, and entertainment. People check their phones hundreds of times a day, often without even thinking about it. They listen to music or podcasts whenever they are walking or driving. They watch videos while eating or before going to bed. This endless input makes it hard for the brain to slow down and truly process information. Easter suggests that people reintroduce boredom into their lives as a way to improve mental clarity and creativity. He recommends simple changes, like putting the phone away for a few hours each day, taking a walk without any distractions, or sitting quietly without checking messages. At first, this may feel uncomfortable. The mind will crave stimulation, but over time it will start to adjust. Instead of feeling restless, people will begin to notice new thoughts, ideas, and perspectives. One of the most powerful methods Easter talks about is the boredom challenge. This is a practice where people intentionally create situations where they have nothing to do. For example, sitting alone in a room with no phone, no music, and no entertainment for 30 minutes. Or going for a walk without checking messages. The goal is to train the brain to tolerate boredom again and allow deeper thinking to happen. There is also a connection between boredom and resilience. People who constantly avoid boredom become less patient, less able to handle discomfort, and more easily distracted. But those who can sit with boredom, who can allow their minds to wander, develop greater focus and self-control. They become more comfortable with their own thoughts and emotions. Easter also explores the impact of boredom on productivity and success. He explains that some of the world's most successful people, athletes, business leaders, artists, spend long periods of time doing repetitive, boring tasks. A great athlete, for example, must train the same movements over and over again. A great musician must practice the same scales thousands of times. A great writer must sit through long hours of writing, even when inspiration is not there. The ability to endure boredom is often what separates those who achieve greatness from those who give up too soon. In modern society, people are losing this ability. They expect everything to be exciting and engaging. If something feels boring, they quickly move on to something else. This creates a culture where people struggle to focus on long-term goals. They chase quick entertainment instead of real growth. Easter challenges people to rethink their relationship with boredom. Instead of seeing it as a problem, they should see it as an opportunity. When they feel bored, instead of reaching for a phone or looking for instant distraction, they should allow themselves to sit with it. They should use those moments to reflect, think deeply, or simply rest their minds. By embracing boredom, people can regain their ability to focus, think creatively, and develop the patience needed for real success. It is a simple but powerful shift, one that can lead to greater mental clarity, stronger resilience, and a deeper connection to the world around them. A powerful idea is how modern life has made people afraid of hard physical effort. Michael Easter explains that for most of human history, people had to use their bodies every day just to survive. They walked long distances, carried heavy loads, hunted animals, built homes, and worked with their hands. Their bodies were strong because their daily lives demanded it. But today, most people live in a world where they rarely need to do any real physical work. They sit in chairs for most of the day, at a desk, in a car, or on a couch. They use machines to do tasks that were once done by hand. Instead of walking, they drive. Instead of lifting things, they use elevators and forklifts. Instead of running or climbing, they stay indoors and avoid physical discomfort. This lifestyle has made people weaker, not just in their bodies but also in their minds. Easter explains that physical struggle is deeply connected to mental toughness. When people push their bodies through hard challenges, their minds also become stronger. This is why ancient cultures and traditional societies often had rites of passage. physical tests that young people had to complete to prove they were ready for adulthood. These tests involved things like hunting dangerous animals, surviving alone in the wilderness, or carrying heavy burdens for long distances. They were difficult, sometimes painful, but they taught important lessons about resilience, endurance, and self-discipline. Today, most people never experience this kind of challenge. Instead, they avoid effort whenever possible. They take the easiest route, look for shortcuts, and choose comfort over struggle. But Easter argues that this is a mistake. He shares research showing that pushing the body beyond its limits is one of the best ways to build confidence, reduce anxiety, and develop mental strength. One example he gives is endurance athletes, people who run ultramarathons, climb mountains, or complete extreme challenges. These athletes face intense physical pain, exhaustion, and even moments where they feel like they cannot continue. But by pushing through, they train their minds to handle discomfort. They learn that pain is temporary and that they are capable of far more than they think. This lesson does not just apply to sports, it applies to all areas of life. Easter shares the story of a scientist who studied how humans underestimate their own physical abilities. In one experiment, participants were asked how long they thought they could hold a heavy weight before dropping it. Then they actually tried it. Almost every participant lasted much longer than they predicted. This shows that the brain often gives up before the body actually needs to. When people feel tired, it is often their mind, not their muscles, that is telling them to stop. This idea is known as the governor theory. It suggests that the brain has a built-in limit to protect the body from harm. But in reality, most people never even come close to their true physical limits. The brain sends warning signals long before real exhaustion sets in. This is why elite athletes and soldiers train to push past these signals. They learn to recognize the difference between actual danger and just mental discomfort. Easter argues that ordinary people can benefit from this same lesson. They do not need to run marathons or climb mountains, but they should regularly challenge themselves physically. This could mean lifting heavier weights at the gym, taking the stairs instead of the elevator, carrying groceries without using a cart, or simply walking longer distances than usual. The goal is to train the body and mind to accept effort as a normal part of life. He also talks about the importance of doing hard things voluntarily. Many people only experience physical hardship when they are forced to, when they get sick, injured, or face unexpected struggles. But those who choose discomfort on a regular basis are better prepared for whatever life throws at them. They develop a mindset that says, "I have been through worse, and I can handle this." One of the most interesting parts of the book is when Easter joins a hunting trip in the Arctic. The conditions are extreme, freezing temperatures, long hikes, carrying heavy loads. At first, it is incredibly difficult. But over time, his body adjusts and he starts to enjoy the challenge. He realizes that hard physical work creates a deep sense of satisfaction. the effort makes the experience more meaningful. This idea applies to many things in life. The hardest tasks, whether it is physical training, learning a new skill, or overcoming a fear, often bring the most reward. Easter encourages people to find ways to add struggle to their daily lives. Instead of avoiding effort, they should welcome it. This is not just about fitness. It is about building a mindset that embraces difficulty instead of running from it. By choosing hard things, people can rebuild their physical strength, sharpen their mental focus, and develop the confidence to handle any challenge. The role of nature in building resilience, reducing stress, and improving overall well-being. Michael Easter argues that modern life has separated people from the natural world, and this separation has serious consequences for both the body and the mind. For most of human history, people lived outdoors, surrounded by trees, rivers, mountains, and open spaces. They had to hunt, gather food, build shelter, and travel long distances on foot. Their senses were always engaged. They had to listen for animals, watch for changes in the weather, and feel the land beneath their feet. This connection to nature was not just a part of survival, it was also deeply important for mental and emotional health. But today, most people spend almost all their time indoors. They live in houses or apartments, work in offices, shop in stores, and exercise in gyms. Even when they go outside, it is often just to walk between buildings or sit in a car. Many people rarely experience wild, untamed nature. Their world is made of smooth surfaces, artificial lighting, and controlled temperatures. This modern environment is comfortable, but it is also unnatural. Easter explains that spending too much time indoors has negative effects on the brain. Research shows that people who live in cities with little access to nature experience higher levels of anxiety, depression, and stress. They also have a harder time focusing, solving problems, and managing emotions. The reason for this is that the human brain evolved in nature, and it functions best when it is exposed to natural surroundings. One fascinating study involved people taking a walk in a city versus a walk in the woods. Those who walked in nature showed lower stress levels, improved memory, and better mood. Their brains became calmer, and they felt more refreshed. Meanwhile, those who walked in busy urban areas experienced no such benefits. In fact, city environments often increase stress because they overwhelm the senses with noise, traffic, and crowds. Easter also discusses the Japanese practice of forest bathing, which is the act of spending time in the woods, not for exercise but simply to be present. Scientists have found that just 20 minutes in nature can lower blood pressure, reduce stress hormones, and improve mental clarity. Even looking at pictures of nature or listening to natural sounds can have a calming effect on the brain. But the real benefits come when people fully immerse themselves in wild environments. Easter describes his own experience of spending time in the Arctic wilderness, where there were no roads, no buildings, and no technology. At first, it was uncomfortable. Cold temperatures, difficult terrain, and the absence of modern conveniences. But after a few days, he started to feel different. His mind became clearer, his stress disappeared, and he felt a deep sense of connection to the world around him. This experience led him to explore the idea that modern humans are missing something essential when they avoid nature. The conveniences of modern life may make things easier, but they also create a deep sense of restlessness, anxiety, and dissatisfaction. People feel disconnected, even though they have access to more entertainment, comfort, and information than ever before. Easter argues that reconnecting with nature is one of the simplest and most effective ways to build resilience and improve well-being. He suggests that people make an effort to spend more time outdoors, not just in parks or backyards, but in truly wild places. This could mean hiking in the mountains, camping in the forest, swimming in a lake, or simply walking in a quiet, natural setting without distractions. He also emphasizes the importance of discomfort in nature. Many people today only go outside when the weather is perfect. If it is too hot, too cold, or too rainy, they stay indoors. But this mindset is another example of how modern life has made people weak. In the past, humans had to deal with all kinds of weather conditions. They learned to adapt, and this made them stronger. Easter encourages people to embrace natural discomfort, to go outside in the rain, to walk in the cold, to experience the heat, wind, and uneven ground. These small challenges teach the brain that discomfort is not something to fear. Over time, this builds mental toughness, patience, and a deeper appreciation for the natural world. He also discusses how technology has weakened people's survival instincts. In the past, people had to navigate using the sun, stars, and landmarks. They had to know how to find water, build shelter, and read the land. Today, GPS, smartphones, and modern infrastructure make all of this unnecessary. While technology is helpful, it has also made people overly dependent. Many would struggle to survive if they were suddenly placed in the wild without their devices. Easter suggests that people relearn basic survival skills, not because they will necessarily need them, but because these skills build confidence and self-reliance. Simple things like starting a fire without matches, finding edible plants, or navigating without a phone can give people a sense of control over their own lives. These skills remind people that they are capable of more than they think. He also talks about the power of solitude in nature. Modern life is full of constant noise, conversations, social media, notifications, and entertainment. People are rarely alone with their thoughts. But being alone in nature forces the mind to slow down and reflect. Many people throughout history, philosophers, writers, and spiritual leaders, spent time alone in the wilderness to gain clarity and insight. Easter believes that spending time in wild places is one of the most powerful ways to reset the mind. It removes distractions, reduces stress, and helps people see what truly matters. It also teaches them to be comfortable with their own thoughts and emotions, which is an important skill for handling life's challenges. By spending more time in nature, embracing discomfort, and reconnecting with the wild, people can build stronger bodies, clearer minds, and a deeper sense of purpose. How seeking difficulty and challenge can help people find greater meaning in life. Michael Easter explains that modern life is full of distractions, entertainment, and artificial goals. Many people spend their time chasing comfort, success, or pleasure, but they often feel empty or unfulfilled. He argues that true fulfillment comes not from avoiding hardship, but from embracing it. Easter looks at research on misogi, an ancient Japanese concept that involves taking on extreme challenges to cleanse the body and mind. In the modern world, misogi is used as a way to push people beyond their limits. The idea is to do something so difficult and uncomfortable that it changes the way a person sees themselves. The challenge should be so hard that there is a real chance of failure. It could be running an ultramarathon, hiking across a desert, or spending days alone in the wilderness. The goal is not to win or be the best, but to experience struggle and transformation. One of the biggest benefits of taking on a misogi-style challenge is that it reshapes a person's self-image. When someone pushes themselves far beyond what they thought was possible, they realize they are stronger than they believed. This mindset shift applies not just to physical challenges but to all areas of life. A person who learns to endure difficulty in one situation becomes more capable of handling stress, failure, and uncertainty in other situations. Easter explains that most people never experience this kind of transformation because they avoid discomfort at all costs. They follow routines, stay in their comfort zones, and avoid anything that seems too hard. But in doing so, they miss out on one of the most important parts of life: growth. Real growth only happens through struggle. He also connects this idea to the science of motivation and purpose. Studies show that people who have a strong sense of purpose tend to be happier and more resilient. But purpose does not come from comfort or pleasure. It comes from challenge, responsibility, and overcoming obstacles. People who take on difficult tasks, whether it is running a marathon, building a business, or raising a family, often feel more satisfied with life than those who only seek ease and entertainment. Easter gives examples of people who have transformed their lives by embracing challenge. Some were overweight and unhappy until they pushed themselves to train for a long-distance race. Others struggled with anxiety and depression until they spent time in nature and disconnected from modern distractions. In every case, the turning point was facing discomfort head-on instead of avoiding it. He also discusses how society has created the illusion of an easy life. Many advertisements, self-help books, and social media messages tell people that happiness comes from making things easier, working less, relaxing more, and avoiding struggle. But the truth is that an easy life often leads to boredom, dissatisfaction, and mental weakness. In contrast, people who challenge themselves regularly tend to feel more alive. This is because the brain is wired to seek challenge and accomplishment. When a person pushes through something difficult, their brain releases dopamine, the same chemical that creates feelings of pleasure and motivation. This is why athletes, adventurers, and even hard-working professionals often feel a deep sense of satisfaction despite their struggles. Easter argues that everyone should seek their own form of challenge. It does not have to be an extreme adventure or physical test. It could be learning a new skill, taking on a difficult project, or facing a personal fear. The important thing is that the challenge is difficult enough to push limits but achievable enough to create growth. Another powerful idea in the book is the importance of embracing uncertainty. Modern society teaches people to seek security and control, but life is naturally unpredictable. Trying to avoid uncertainty often leads to fear, stress, and overthinking. But when people accept that uncertainty is a normal part of life, they become more adaptable and confident. Easter encourages people to let go of the need for perfect plans and absolute control. Instead of fearing the unknown, they should see it as an opportunity for growth. Some of the greatest experiences in life happen when people take risks, step into the unknown, and trust themselves to handle whatever comes next. He also touches on how discomfort builds emotional strength. Many people today struggle with anxiety and frustration because they have never been taught how to handle difficulty. Instead of facing problems, they avoid them. Instead of dealing with stress, they look for quick escapes through food, entertainment, or social media. But this avoidance only makes problems worse in the long run. Easter explains that the best way to handle stress is to expose yourself to controlled discomfort. This could mean exercising when you do not feel like it, having a difficult conversation instead of avoiding it, or doing something scary instead of making excuses. Over time, these small acts of courage make a person mentally stronger and more capable of handling bigger challenges. Another key point is that comfort and happiness are not the same thing. Many people assume that the more comfortable they are, the happier they will be. But research shows that too much comfort actually makes people unhappy. When life is too easy, the brain stops feeling motivated. Without struggle, there is no sense of achievement. Without effort, rewards feel meaningless. This is why many people who seem to have everything, money, success, an easy life, still feel empty. True happiness comes from having a sense of purpose, taking on challenges, and growing as a person. It is not about avoiding discomfort but learning how to use it as a tool for personal growth. Easter also reminds readers that change takes time. Many people expect quick results, but growth happens slowly through repeated effort. The more a person pushes their limits, the more they expand their comfort zone. Over time, things that once seemed impossible become normal. What was once difficult becomes easy. He encourages people to start small. Pick one area of life and introduce a little discomfort. This could mean exercising harder, waking up earlier, spending time alone, or taking on a new challenge at work. As discomfort becomes more familiar, confidence grows. In the end, the comfort crisis is a call to action. It is a reminder that the best things in life come from effort, challenge, and discomfort. Instead of avoiding struggle, people should embrace it. Instead of seeking comfort, they should seek growth. And instead of fearing the unknown, they should see it as an opportunity to become stronger, wiser, and more fulfilled.